A massive meteor is going to wipe out all life on Earth. And I, for one, welcome that eventuality. As if nothing that joins a long and proud list of similar cinematic endeavors like Battleship Potemkin and Triumph of the Will, starring such luminaries as freezing to death 5 inches away from a floating door that would have saved his life. Unfortunately, he's still around and making a lot of really cringe-ass movies like this one. Don't Look Up nails the frustration of being a scientist, says Wired, written by Amit Katwala, which sounds an awful lot like some kind of Black Panther version, but oh well. It's like an asteroid is going to devastate the planet and no one cares, some rando told the person with a movie career, and so we got Don't Look Up, which arrives on Netflix this week. God save us all. For scientists working in the field, Don't Look Up is a thinly veiled allegory for the climate crises. Mind you, we have transitioned away from climate change now to climate crises, because people weren't panicking enough with the first one, frankly. Strikes painfully close to home. For decades they've been sounding alarms about global warming, and it's only in the last few years that governments have really started to listen. Ah yes, for decades now we have been crying wolf at literally everything. The swine flu was going to wipe us all off the face of the earth. The bird flu would leave nothing but scorched bones and particularly well-fed cockroaches. And yet, oddly enough, here we still are. One of the most, often repeated ones of these is Ice Cap. The North Ice Cap, I believe, would be completely devoid of ice in just 4 or 5 years. Didn't really turn out a long time now. In fact, I remember the precursor to climate change, which was, what was it? Acidic downpours? The idea back then, and this was in every textbooks, it is complete bullshit that nobody has taken this seriously. We have been panicking over this for God only knows how long. But the idea was that rain would become so acidic that it would eat away our entire civilization. More, I see a roof above me. Oh well. This was one of those great big embarrassments that many have tried to back away from previously. Snopes, the famous fact-checker, of course had to run a little bit of defense on this. Thank God they're currently in danger. In the late 2000s, Al Gore did make a series of high-profile statements suggesting the possibility that Arctic sea ice could be completely gone during the summer by around 2013-2014. Well, that is a lie, but details. What's false? Gore did not himself make these predictions, but said in some cases erroneously that others had, and he never referred to a year-long lack of ice for both poles, but instead largely referenced the Arctic sea ice in the summer. Once more, Snopes has been rather particular with the quotes that they have picked, as the thing they are debunking is not Al Gore failing miserably, but rather they are debunking a meme of Al Gore failing miserably. As what Al Gore did say, and don't take my word for it, in fact, let us head to the least sympathetic outlet on the internet, the Huffington Post, where he said a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be Al Gore himself stating that completely ice-free, the entire polar ice cap. Prediction indeed, but And again, I am not a climate scientist. I am sure the climate is changing. It literally has since the Earth started spinning, basically. Whether or not what's man-made, what isn't man-made, what kind of an effect we have on the climate, if any, how large it is that I've been told about this since I was about, 7 or so. And yet, it doesn't really seem to have happened. And no matter how it's touched seriously, my dude, I just cannot bring myself to take it seriously. Particularly also as, of course, here's the thing. We should not have any elected leaders on a state level, on a city level, or national level that doesn't listen to the science. Whilst interested, they aren't never 100% sure. Well, you see, there's the issue, Leonardo. You are asking people to take drastic measures, very invasive measures, that will change their lives completely based on people who aren't quite sure that what they're saying are going a multi-millionaire, not a goddamn billionaire at this point, so I imagine you're having a bit of a hard time seeing the view of the common folk. Explaining that by population, we are per capita the largest polluters in the world, the lying actor goes on to state. And even scientists have been saying this for decades now. We need to set an example for the rest of the world to follow. Even scientists have been saying that the problem, because scientists have a lot of very different opinions on this. According to Leonardo DiCaprio, an expert on the subject, the US is the largest per capita polluter in the world. According to observable reality, that is not actually entirely true. As we are looking at CO2 emissions per capita, let's look at that, we've got Qatar, Montenegro, Kuwait, Trinidad and Tobago, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Canada, Brunei, Luxembourg, Bahrain, Australia, Estonia, Gibraltar, Falkland Islands, Saudi Arabia, and then, finally, the United States. Whoopsie. And as for the actual total emissions, China is twice that of the US. Why? Because unlike the West, have taken constant, repeated, effective steps of regulations on how you can create power via coal. Germany shut down their nuclear power production, far greener than the coal, mind you, but we have a lot of filtration and we have a lot of reduction on the actual CO2 and the actual pollutions being created by these power plants. Meanwhile, in China, do you think they give a shit? Should we 5 of them, and then rake in ridiculous amount of money? Well, we did sign that climate accord. You might remember that, the climate accord that Trump wisely, mind you, pulled out of, the one that Biden signed back up to. What was the key idea of that again? Oh yes, I remember now. It was that the US, one of the world's leading producers of power, should constantly downscale their power production. Meanwhile, China, another signatory, and that was touted as a huge achievement. China has signed a climate accord. Everything is solved now. What did they agree to? To increase their coal burning production. Why wouldn't... I did a whole video on this. Why wouldn't they sign this? Their largest competitor to increase theirs. It's your competitor's going, I will actively screw myself if you'll just please sign this non-committal piece of paper. God damn it. It's beyond stupid. It's genuinely actually beyond parody. And of course, the gist of this entire thing is that scientists need to stop not being 100% sure. They need to become more strident, you see. They need to be, no, this is absolutely happening. But the data shows that you can't be certain. No, I don't care. We're the scientists. Listen to us. This isn't about actual science, which is the art of never knowing anything for absolutely certain. This is a religion now, and we would like our temples, please. Also, offerings. Thank you very much. It's damn expensive to do what we do, so if you could give us a few governmental grants, that would be fantastic. Over the past few decades, the language we use to discuss this problem has changed from the fairly sedated global warming to the maddeningly vague climate change to the suitably alarming climate crises. Like, we've been crying wolf louder and louder, and yet people seem to listen to us less and less. Why is this? God damn it. And of course, we've got the COVID pandemic going on, blah blah blah. It's a lengthy little fluff piece over here, and again, let me re-stress this point, okay? No. I do not know if climate change is real, if the climate crisis is real. Hell, here's the thing. I remember watching a episode of The West Wing, by this point, ancient-ass political TV show, which was surprisingly unbiased for the time. It would never have been made today. The Democrats were more or less portrayed as the good guys. They were the main characters, but the Republicans too were shown as people with integrity, with values, and that did have certain rules that they were on the temporary president, as the Democratic president was stick or something. I can't remember the plot point. But anyways, even in that ancient-ass show, there was an episode on climate crises basically going, well, it might have been too late 50 years ago. I don't care then. The wolf has been on the horizon now for decade after decade after decade. We have been shouting at it. It doesn't seem to help over much, so please, just stop. Just cease. We are already taking all of the measures we reasonably can to stop pollutions. If there is anyone you want to lambast with your poor-performing, low-budget propaganda, make it China, make it India, make it Asia, and leave the rest of us the fuck alone. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a good day.